Welcome back to Summoner's Choice, where you, the community, chose Hercules as your champion to be added to Marvel Contest of Champions. And we're following the process every step of the way. Now, last episode we talked to Kabam Broccoli as he took us through his process on how he designs champions' abilities and their kits. Today, we take Hercules through his finishing touches as we discuss how VFX and sound design are integrated into a champion. Then we jump into character art QA and top it off with the final champion balance pass. We've got a loaded show, so let's get into it. Jim, welcome back to Summoner's Choice. It's been quite the journey so far, but we still have a little bit more to go. Can you walk us through how VFX and sound design were done for Hercules?
Absolutely. VFX has a very similar process as some other parts of the design, namely animation, and their work is brainstormed really early, but it would already be going through tweaks and adjustments as they have these discussions with the animators. As the character team begins to lock the animations in place, it really provides a framework for what the VFX team is going to be concentrating on. It ultimately, when everything starts to lock down, that's when we really start to wake up the animation, and it adds a lot of weight and impact to everything. For Hercules, we really wanted to convey his strength and how hard he's hitting the opponent, so you can see that in the particle effects that we've added to each attack, as well as sort of the dust explosions on the medium and the heavy attacks. And this goes through review where we all comment on what works and what doesn't, and then there's a lot of fine-tuning on the process until the product fits not only the champion, but just like the overall visual standard set for the game.
Well, the difference is striking. Just looking at the animation side by side, you can really see what VFX brings to the contest, especially the VFX on that Special 3. You really knocked that one out of the park.
Okay, so the next thing up is the sound design, and this is a process that really puts the button on the champion. So in normal circumstances, the sound is reviewed by our gameplay designer and oftentimes myself as well, and we'll be mainly looking for that the impact sounds are hitting on the right frames and the blast noises and those risers. So we'll send out those notes back to our audio designer and they'll iterate on it one or two times, and then we'll get back, and that's when it goes into QA's hands.
Very, very nice. Thanks, Jim. Hercules is looking and sounding absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to doing this again real soon.
Me too. Thanks, Dave.
Well, here we are again with Brooklyn in the house, and we finally get to find out what character art QA is all about. Brooklyn, take it away.
Hello, Summoners. My job is to make sure that each champion we bring into the contest works as intended with all their moves against all champions on every stage, and there is a lot to look out for.
Yeah, I bet. And we have over 200 champions in the game right now with multiple environments and interactions. I don't even want to do that math.
It definitely adds up, but the main thing we look out for is to make sure champions look as good as possible within our constraints. I test gameplay to make sure there's no whiffing, to make sure props are disabled during Special 3 animations, and to flag any concerns early on. For example, this one time with Human Torch, his run cycle broke and he just sunk in the stage, which is something we definitely don't want our players to experience.
I definitely agree on that one. Now, how long does a QA pass on a champion typically take?
It really differs between each character. Some characters are more streamlined and straightforward, like for example Red Guardian with his punches and kicks, versus Guardian whose VFX is exploding everywhere and he has his own custom shader. There's always a few weeks of going back and forth with the team. It's really nice to be so embedded, so that I come into my testing informed and with context. Everyone wants to bring their best work with each champion we release, and my job is to ensure the team's hard work shines through.
Talk about unsung heroes. The better you are at your job, the less people notice. Now, I wanted to jump back on those visual bugs. Could you give us an idea of what kind of odd interactions you come across in your QA testing?
Funny you should ask. I brought some examples with me. Long shot here, he's just missing his eyes. Man-Thing's scale broke in the front end of our game, so he was scaled up super huge and his head's not even in the frame. Mojo's face is just working as intended. I honestly don't know what happened with Mojo here. I think his face rig broke somewhere along the way.
Wow, and that's just a small sample. Brooklyn, thank you so much for what you do and for giving the community a little bit of a peek behind the curtain on what Character Art QA is all about.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I cannot wait for the community to get their hands on Hercules.
All right, here we are, the last line of defense, the final champion balance pass with my main man, Kabam John, in the house. Now, what is a champion balance pass anyway? I thought this was all done in the champion design reviews.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dave. So a lot of our high-level estimates, kind of getting a feel for loosely what we want the champion to feel like in terms of tuning, is all done during the champion design reviews. And then after we've gotten comfortable with that, then we'll move on to tuning afterwards. My job is to help them achieve rewarding character loops. So, what abilities to use in what order, and is it the right one? Does it feel good? As well as making the character have value for the players and try to outline how we can get there or what that looks like in the game.
Ah, okay, I see. So the champion designer makes the best champion that they can and balance them within their own kit. But you take them into the contest and make sure they aren't under or overperforming. So in other words, balanced.
Exactly, as all things should be.
Indeed. Now, can you highlight the process you took with Hercules so that you can give the summoners out there some idea of what it takes to balance a champion?
Absolutely. So the first thing I always do is I want to make sure I get nice and familiar with the kit, learn as much as I can. So I go out to classic good friend Winter Soldier, the resident punching bag of the contest, get in the ring with him for a few dozen or 100 rounds, trying to make sure that I really understand the character. And while I'm doing all of this, familiarizing myself with the kit, I try and find two main things. What the main points of damage are, so where I can get those big spikes, those big yellow numbers, and also where the main points of all his utility is coming from. After I'm confident with learning all of that, and I'm really comfortable with how the kit plays, I have a custom quest map that I'll fill with fights that I think the champion will be very good at, as well as fights that I think the champion will be not so good at. And then I use those to try and gauge how well I can play the character anywhere. These fights consist of things like act bosses and content, and also a lot of tier 1 war fights. I try to find the ones that I think will be most tough in current tier 1 wars to really push the character as far as they can go. So after my playtesting, I'll sync back up with the designer, so in this case Broccoli. I'll call out the points of the loop that feel really good, as well as the points that feel kind of weak with the character. Then we'll go through and we'll do it again with the utility this time. And then I'll do it again with synergies. And then once I'm comfortable with that, then I'll do it again with masteries, and so on and so forth until we've kind of covered as much as we can with the character. And we're happy with where they've landed.
So over the years, this game has become pretty massive with masteries, synergies, abilities, buffs, debuffs, nodes, new interactions, and of course having well over 200 champions in the game. How does that affect the way that you do a balance pass?
We have to try and take everything we can into account. Like you said, we have a massive, absolutely gigantic list of champions and buffs and masteries. So I try to use my knowledge of the game as well as just reference to try and break the character as much as they can. Game has been out for 6 years now. There's so much stuff going on. There's so many different points of contact with different characters and buffs. I try to find as many unintended interactions as I can, and I want to make sure that I do a really thorough balance pass to try and catch as many of those as I can before we release.
Wow, that sounds really intense, but it sounds like you're pretty excited about Hercules. And it sounds like he's going to be a pretty strong addition to the contest.
Oh, absolutely. The entire MCoC team bringing him to life was a Herculean effort.
And I heard he's going to be a god in the game?
Well, a demigod, but who's counting?
Oh, I'm counting on him being amazing. Well, that's enough fun for me. Thank you so much, Kabam John, for joining us today and giving us a peek behind the scenes.
Anytime. Looking forward to all the Hercules flexes out there.
Well, there you have it, summoners. Our journey is complete. Hercules is finished, and you can get your hands on him when the preview bundle drops on July 8th or the full release on July 15th. Make sure to check out the deep dive and see Hercules in action. You don't want to miss it. And if you like the video, go ahead and click subscribe, click like, comment, and share. And remember, we'll see you in the battle realm.